बालवीर सीज़न 3 के एपिसोड 100 में हम देखेंगे कि किस तरह बेनाम आगील के रूप में काशवी को मिलती है और काशवी को ये यकीन दिलाने के लिए कि वो बेनाम है, काशवी को पाताल लोक ले जाती है जहाँ सब आत्माएं रहती हैं और वहाँ जाकर बेनाम काशवी को अपनी माँ तुएर से मिलाती है, यानी तुएर की आत्मा से अब काशवी मिलेगी। और दूसरी तरफ हम देखते हैं कि आगील बेनाम के रूप में ये ऐलान करती है कि कुछ ही देर में वो चीख चीख कर बोलेगी कि वही आगील है, क्योंकि वो अब जीत गई है, क्योंकि उसने बालवीर के बाप को आज़ाद करवा दिया है बालवीर को मारने के लिए। और दूसरी तरफ हम देखते हैं कि बालवीर क्रिंकाल लोक में चले गया है और वहाँ जाकर उसे कुछ मुश्किलात का सामना करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि बालवीर के बाप को कैद करने के लिए और कोई ना उसके पास पहुंच पाए, इसलिए क्रिंकाल लोक में बहुत सारे मुश्किल रास्ते हैं जो कि बालवीर को पार करने पड़ेंगे। और क्योंकि वो सब आग और लावा से भरा हुआ है तो बालवीर को अपनी जान पर खेल के अपने बाप को आज़ाद करवाना पड़ेगा। और हम देखेंगे कि किस तरह काशवी जैसे ही अपनी माँ से मिलती है तो उसे ये यकीन हो जाता है कि आगील कभी भी काशवी को अपनी माँ के साथ नहीं मिलवा सकती, तो इसीलिए उसे ये यकीन हो जाएगा कि आगील के रूप में बेनाम ही असली बेनाम है। और हम देखेंगे कि किस तरह काशवी ये बात बालवीर को बताएगी और फिर बालवीर भी कंफर्म कर लेगा बेनाम से कि बेनाम और आगील की बॉडीज़ एक दूसरे के साथ मिल चुकी हैं और किस तरह बेनाम और काशवी और बालवीर तीनों मिलकर आगील के ख़िलाफ़ एक ऐसी चाल चलेंगे जिसमें से वो ख़ुद भी नहीं पहचान पाएगी कि वो है कौन। अगर आप सबसे पहले सीज़न 3 के एपिसोड्स देखना चाहते हैं तो मैजिक वर्ल्ड को सब्सक्राइब कर दें और इस वीडियो को लाइक कर दें ताकि अगले सीज़न 3 के फुल एपिसोड्स आपके पास इसी तरह आएँ। तो इस एपिसोड को शुरू करते हैं। Today's episode is first of all the 100th episode of Balveer 3, and it is definitely celebratory, but considering the devastating news about Balveer going off air, it really isn't that great, but we should celebrate the most we can from a show. So of course we are here to talk about episode 100, the 100th episode, which is having a lot of plots and twists and turns that we are going to see in the 100th episode. Now, of course, talking about this episode, we first need to talk about the coming up next promo and what we saw in the coming up next promo. And of course, there are a lot of things. There are 3 things that are happening in the coming up next promo. The promo started off with Balveer in Krinkal Lok, where Balveer's father is trapped and he has to bypass and really just, you can say, evade all these traps and these weapons that are set there so that no one can free or release Bhasm. And we know that Balveer being the ultimate warrior that he is, and of course this amusement and this, you can say, reason that he has to release his father is beyond anything for him. So he will be able to release him, and we will see how that all goes on and about. So Balveer says to himself that he can't stay at one, you can say, place for too long, because he will start to just stick. So it definitely is like quicksand, but more fatal. And then we see Benam, who is actually Agil in Shashwan Lok, who is for some reason going to you can say reveal or expose her own identity for some reason, when she could just you can say take she can always just take something positive out of it, and that would be something that is for her own advantage, and Agil would definitely do that, but for some reason Benam isn't doing that. So that is disappointing, or actually Agil is disappointing here. And of course this is the 100th episode, so we definitely have a lot of plots going on, and well, that is about it. And then we see that this whole new, you can say, element is here, and it looks like the entire modern colony is actually gone into some really bad makeover, which is given the implication that it is actually the upside down, and it is the, you can say, the prison or the location of the dead. And that is something we have seen in Baal Returns as well, and it is called Patal Lok. So it will be interesting to see what they call this you can say upside down place that is an exact copy of modern colony. So we will see how that all goes on about. And of course, we see that Benam, who is dressed up as Agil, is conjuring the dead. So we have no idea why she's doing that. The only thing that we can take away from this is that maybe she is trying to conjure the dead so that she can communicate with Kashvi's dead mother, and maybe that will allow Kashvi to trust Benam as Akil, which is just unbelievable. We don't know why she would do that. And then we see that Veer, who is our lost character, who had already died, is actually very much alive, or actually she is undead here. And that is something that we never thought that would come, but here we are seeing the dead version or undead version or unalive version, but it is mostly undead version of the Veer standing right in front of us. We see that there is this red eye makeup and then this really dark eyeshadow and eye makeup, and of course her lips are also, for some reason, they look like they were stitched, but actually isn't true at all. It's just makeup to make her look you can say scary. So the episode prior to that starts off with Toba Toba trying to make Benam drink this you can say potion that will make her unconscious, so that they can have her not see their own plans, because it is better for Benam to be right in front of them instead of going out there trying to explain Baal Veer that their plots are not working at all. So we see that Toba Toba is not having any of that because he is very smart, and we see that Toba Toba being in charge of this whole thing was definitely a mistake on Agil's part, but we will later learn that this wasn't a mistake at all. This was definitely done on purpose. So that is interesting, and we will see how that all goes on. And about for our characters. So Benam tries to reason with Toba Toba that she won't be able to, escape, because both of her hands are tied to the chair, throne, or whatever that is. And you can say that she has a good reason, because if Toba Toba frees one hand of hers, the other ones would still be intact with the throne, so she won't be able to escape that. And then we see that Toba Toba is for some reason having identity crisis, where he is listening to his evil side or his dominant side, and this Toba Toba is the submissive one. And we see that this is for some reason is made to be something very sarcastic. And of course Toba Toba listens to his dominant side and says to himself that he will open her you can say one side, her left side, and he will just open that handcuff. And he does, and it isn't going to stay there. And now Benam has her hand uncuffed, and we see that Toba, in a very comedic way, asks her if she will run away, which she replies with that she will never run away. And just as we about to see her drinking that whatever water is, she just throws it on Toba's face, and she also picks up the key which was held there by Toba, which was also a mistake, and we see her running away. So they did all that only for her to just, you can say, be attacked by Andher, for him to have this very evil or very, you can say, important role. But that is just unbelievable, because Andher is a background character, and him having this whole villainous thing does not make any sense. So we see that back in, well, Benam's place, that northern area where it is ice and it is in the negative degrees, and she isn't wearing any cold weather, you can say, clothes. And we see that they are having a really, you can say, motherhood moment, and Veer is sitting on, they are definitely sitting together in this very lovely moment that describes that Veer really loves his mother, his biological mother at the very least, and Veer is holding her hands as a gesture of trust and love. And of course, Agil being so cruel, and Sharmili Raj being an amazing actress, and of course she does this evil role really greatly and in a really good way, and it definitely is convincing to an extent, and we see that this is working for her. And of course, Veer starts to ask questions, and he says that Kashvi did reason with him, and now he has gone with these new ideas of his father, and he will wait for the right time. And Benam gets all worried. Of course, Agil gets all worried, because she doesn't want Veer to leave his father's side, and she wants Veer to release his own father. And Kashvi's whole explanation doesn't work, because Benam, or actually Agil, told Veer that it is okay for him to know about his father. And Veer, the very first question that he asks her is that if he is alive, which she replies with a yes. And we see that Veer is now being answered for all the questions that Benam is going to answer purposefully. So we see that Benam also explains to Veer all the, you can say, but when Veer asks where his father is, Benam tells him that Veer's father, Bhasan, is trapped by Agil's mother, and the realm that he is trapped in is called Krinkalok, and that is a new realm that we have never heard before. And he is also trapped within lava, which they love saying, because we really can't see any sort of lava here, so we have no idea where this is coming from. And of course, Agil has made up this story that it was actually Agil's mother who trapped Bhasan, and she is trying to portray Bhasan as this victim who was trapped by the evil people, to make Veer believe that the evil people, the evil beings, have trapped his father, which will just gaslight him into releasing his father himself. Now, of course, this is a really great way to, you can say, to make Veer believe that his father is trapped and he needs help, and that is something that is greatly in work, and we see that it is actually very you can say efficient, because it actually is working, and it is a great way to convince Balveer to free his father. And of course it definitely shows that they did put some mind into writing this. But of course, if there is dialogue that is really great, then the next scene just trashes and it just dumps all the bad things over the previous scene, just like season 3's episode 2 dumped all the trash on episode 1 and how great it was. So back in Himbashlok, we see that Benam is trying to escape from Andher, and of course she doesn't have her powers, which we don't know why she isn't having any of her powers, because her body was switched with Agil, not her powers. And this doesn't make any sense, and they did not explain to us beforehand that Benam is going to be powerless. So Benam just sees that there is this glowing jar which has Balveer's magic still in it, and then she uses that magic to open a portal, while Toba Toba is seeding or just planting another seed of treason in Andher's mind when he tells him that Andher loves to punish Agil's body. And of course that distracts him, because he also wants to do that, because no one wants to be a servant for this evil person who always treats them like trash. So of course Benam, taking the opportunity, she just runs away from Himbashlok in that portal, and instead of going to Balveer, she instead goes to the Bharadwaj house. So Benam is, well, for some reason we have no idea why she would do that. She should have gone somewhere where well, of course she doesn't know that she is Agil, even though her hands were pretty different and her voice as well. So we have no idea why she just realized back on Earth. So we are going to talk about that as well. So back in the northern area where it is -degrees, we see that Balveer is making a promise to himself that he is going to release Balveer, because Balveer's father, because he can't let the evil beings win, and he can't let Agil's family win. And Benam, who is Agil tries to stop Balveer, but also like indirectly asking him to go there, which is a great way for Agil to convince Balveer to actually go there and save his father. And of course then we see a sneak peek of the future episodes where Balveer is for some reason a green seer, and he is actually, or he can see the future, and there is this fire and Balveer is walking on a rope. So we have no idea how Balveer could just think. Maybe it's just his idea, and his ideas were actually very similar to what we are going to see on our TV. So Agil, being fake worried about Balveer, asks him to not take this risk and not risk his life. But we see that Balveer is just too stubborn, and Balveer has already made his decision to save his father from imprisonment or from this trap. And of course Sharmili Raj is really great in this scene, and it is a pretty convincing performance that this person is in fact Agil. So Balveer, you can say, requests or asks for his mother's blessing, but he doesn't know that it actually isn't his mother. So of course in Balveer's mind, he has taken his mother's blessings. So Agil gives him this blessing, and then we see Veer going away, just teleporting from there, and then Agil takes off her disguise and starts talking like Agil. And we see that this is just a really great way for us to see that Benam is actually quite convincing as Agil. Sharmili Raj is doing her best. So she teleports to Shashwan Lok, and we see that Uttan is very happy to see that Benam, who is of course Agil, is unhurt, and she thanks him for the Uttan Rekha, that protection spell that he casted on her house, which protected her from any harm. So we see that these snakes that are in disguise, of course Benam is actually Agil and Nehmag is actually Sheshmag. So these people are now given the most important responsibility yet. So Uttan asks for Balveer, and Benam asks why he would need Balveer, and Uttan says that he has to go on this tour, this universe tour, we can't say world tour. So he has to go on this tour of the entire universe, and that is to have a check balance on everything, and he wants Balveer to take in charge. And of course Benam can't let Balveer have the in charge of the entire Shashwan Lok for some reason, which is Agil of course, and instead she asks to lower the burden on Balveer, and instead asks them to make them responsible for the entirety of Shashwan Lok. Now of course Shashwan Lok isn't that important of a realm. We might consider Pari Lok and Veer Lok to be more important, and considering that they have the full control of Shashwan Lok should be considered as a big win for Sheshmag and Agil. But of course they are their own enemies, and they wouldn't have each other rule over the other realm. So they could have just we can say made up this mind, or we can say this idea of them ruling Earth and Shashwan Lok. So Sheshmag would be ruling the entirety of Shashwan Lok and Ludaka Lok, and Agil would rule Earth and Himbash Lok. So that would have been a really neat way for them to settle together for this alliance. So we see that right after Uttan is gone, Taba Taba delivers the news that, so of course that whole explanation is explained when Agil, actually Benam disguised as Agil, comes in front of Kashvi, and then all hell breaks loose. Subscribe our channel and watch these Balveer episodes only on Magic World, where new Balveer episodes are daily uploaded with new ideas. Only for the true Balveer fans who want to experience the wonders of Balveer that are brought to you by Magic World. Take care of yourself and be happy.